A cold wind moved across the empty surface of Earth, carrying nothing but ash, no trees, no rivers, no voices, only silence once this world was alive, with billions of people, with bright cities and green forests. But now it was nothing, a dead planet. Floating in the dark void of space, the oceans had boiled away long ago, leaving behind endless plains of cracked stone and dust. The sky was grey, heavy and unmoving, as if it too had given up. Far above the ruined planet, an alien probe drifted quietly. It was small, metallic, and shaped like an eye watching and recording what little was left of the world inside its machine. Memory were orders given thousands of years ago. Keep watch. Confirm that no human life remained for 30,000 years. The probe had floated here, sending reports back to the great alien coalition that had once destroyed Earth every year. It repeated the same simple message: no life detected, Earth is silent. On the day our story begins, the probe was about to send another routine report, but then something strange happened. A faint signal cut across its scanners, a sound not natural, not random, but structured, a human signal. The probe froze, its systems whirred, trying to confirm the data. At first it believed it was an error interference from cosmic radiation, but the signal came again, broken, weak, but unmistakably human. Across the galaxy, inside the grand chamber of the alien council, leaders from many worlds gathered, as they always had. They spoke in low voices, their many eyes glowing in the shadows. When the report from the Earth probe arrived, the chamber fell silent. One of the elders, a tall, insect-like creature with a cracked voice, read the message aloud. Faint human signal detected. Repeat. Faint human signal detected. The council laughed at first. They laughed with sharp, cruel sounds. Humans, they said, were gone. Their planet had been burned to ash, their fleets shattered, their cities broken. Nothing could have survived that war. 30,000 years had passed too long for any race to hide too long, for memory itself. But the signal was real. And though the council dismissed it, their laughter was hollow in the back of their minds. A quiet fear began to grow on the other side of the galaxy. In the endless black void of deep space, something moved. Huge shapes larger than mountains glided silently among the stars. They were ships, but not like any the aliens had ever seen before. They were dark and smooth like shadows given. From their engines left no trace. Their weapons hidden behind shifting metal skin. At the heart of the fleet was a single flag vessel, blacker than the void itself, and inside it were humans. For 30,000 years, humanity had not been dead. They had been waiting. The destruction of Earth had not been the end. It had been the beginning. A small number of survivors had escaped through secret gates, hidden technologies that the alien coalition never discovered. They fled beyond known space into the deep places of the universe, where no other race dared to go. They traveled through the edges of black holes, harvesting energy from dying stars. They built cities hidden inside asteroids and planets of metal. They endured, they evolved, and above all they remembered. Now their time had come. Inside the command chamber of the flagship, a human commander stood tall, his armor black-silver veins glowing faintly across its surface. His eyes burned with determination around him. The crew moved in quiet focus, their bodies strong, their minds sharpened by thousands of generations born in exile. One officer turned to him and spoke. The signal has been sent. The aliens know we are coming. The commander did not smile. He only said, let them know, let them fear. Back on Earth, the alien probe still recorded, still sent its signals, but now it saw something it could not explain. A shadow passed over the planet. A ship, larger than anything the probe had ever seen, glided between Earth and the sun. For a moment, the dead world was covered in darkness deeper than night. The probe tried to identify the vessel, but its systems crashed, overwhelmed by the size and power of what it was seeing before it could send another message: a single human fighter. broke off from the fleet and destroyed the probe. With one precise shot, silence returned, but the message had already traveled. The galaxy knew, and whispers began to spread from star system to star system. They are back. The children of Earth have returned in the dark cities of alien worlds. People gathered in fear. Merchants in glowing markets whispered to one another. Soldiers in high towers sharpened their weapons. Rulers in their thrones dismissed the stories, but even they could feel the weight of it. Humans were a legend now, a ghost story told to frighten the young. They were described as clever, dangerous, too stubborn to die, and now the legend was real. The alien coalition remembered the war 30,000 years ago. They remembered how humans fought to the very end, never surrendering even as their world burned. They remembered human fleets charging against impossible odds, destroying entire armadas before finally falling. They remembered that humans had always been different, stronger in spirit, more unpredictable than any other race. And now, after so long, they were back. The council called an emergency meeting. Their voices filled the chamber. The humans cannot return. One leader cried, "They must be stopped before they spread." Again, another slammed a claw against the table, saying, "No, they are only shadows, ghosts, nothing to fear." But in the silence between their words, the truth hung heavy. They were afraid. Out in the void, the human fleet kept moving, silent, deadly, no broadcasts. No warnings, no mercy. Only a quiet signal pulsing through space, one word repeated again and again. Earth, Earth, Earth. The commander stood at the front of his ship, looking at the ashes of his ancestral home through a giant viewing window he reached. Out a hand, placing it against the cold glass. His voice was low but strong. "This was our home, and they burned it. They thought we would die. But we lived. We grew. We endured. And now we return, not as victims, but as rulers." His crew answered in one voice. For Earth in the alien council chambers, the debate grew louder. Some races demanded immediate war fleets to crush the humans before they could grow. Others begged for peace, desperate not to face the fury of a race that had waited so long. One alien general leaned forward, his eyes wide with terror. "You do not understand," he said. "Humans are not like us. They will not forget. They will not forgive." The hook had been set across the galaxy. Stories spread of black ships moving in the void planets where stars dimmed without warning, fleets vanishing in silence, survivors speaking of human eyes watching from the dark. Entire civilizations began to tremble without even seeing the full power of what had come, and above the ruined ashes of Earth, humanity's fleet waited, silent, patient, ready for the first strike. 30,000 years of exile had ended. The war for Earth was about to begin. In the heart of the alien council chamber, the air was heavy with unease. The faint signal from Earth had already reached every world in the coalition, and though the leaders mocked it at first, laughter no longer filled the chamber, only silence broken by nervous voices. The great dome above them flickered with starlight, showing maps of the galaxy, lines of trade routes, fleets, colonies shining bright. Yet in the center of the map was a single pulsing light, the origin of the human signal. It throbbed like a wound in the sky. The elders argued, their many voices clashing. Some shouted for immediate action. Send warships to Earth, confirm the signal, destroy whatever remains. Others demanded patience, believing it to be a trick, a ghost echo from long-dead machines. The youngest of the council spoke in a trembling voice. "What if it is real? What if they are back?" The chamber went still. The oldest among them, with scales like stone, leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. He spoke slowly. "We ended them 30,000 years ago. If they survived, if they return now, they will not forgive." Far from the council, across the cold void, an alien fleet gathered, 500 warships each, larger than a mountain, glowing with energy weapons, their hulls bristling with cannons. They moved in formation toward the outer rim, their mission simple: confirm and crush. any sign of humanity on the lead ship. An alien admiral with crimson skin stared at the stars, his confidence unshaken. He laughed to his crew. Humans are myths. Nothing more, they will break like glass under our guns. But in the shadows of the void, something else moved, shapes darker than darkness itself. The human fleet, silent, without signal, without light. They slipped into position around the alien warships, unseen, undetected on the flagship. The human commander stood tall, his armor gleaming. Faintly, his face set like stone. His officers reported in hushed tones. "Target fleets locked weapons, armed, awaiting your word." The commander raised one hand. "Not yet, let them believe they are safe. Let them think we are still dead." Inside the alien admiral's ship, the crew cheered. They were confident, their numbers gave them courage. Their technology was the pride of the coalition. They had crushed dozens of rebellions across the stars. No one had stood against them in centuries, but that confidence began to waver when one by one their long-range sensors went dark. At first they thought it was malfunction, a technical error, but then the stars around them began to vanish, swallowed by black shadows moving silently across the void. Panic rippled through the fleet reports, came in broken, scattered shapes, detected unknown ships moving too fast, unable to track weapons, not locking. Then silence, entire patrol wings vanished without even a trace. The admiral's laughter died in. His throat, his eyes wide as he barked orders. Fire on all sectors. Fire blind, find them now. But before his command was carried out, his ship shuddered, the lights flickered, alarms screamed. Something was inside the hull, tearing it apart from within. The human fleet struck with precision weapons. No alien mind could understand. Beams of compressed gravity slicing through warships, collapsing them into nothing. Fighters like black blades darted between ships, cutting engines before vanishing again. The alien fleet fired wildly, their energy weapons lighting the void like suns, but they hit nothing. The humans were everywhere and nowhere. On the bridge of the human flagship, the commander gave the final order: strike hard, leave none. The fleet responded. With silent fury in moments, the battle turned into a slaughter alien. Ships cracked open, spilling fire, and bodies into space. Screams filled the comms channels, desperate pleas for help. Unanswered, as one after another, their signals went dark. The admiral tried to rally his forces, but his ship too was torn apart, collapsing in a wave of fire. It was over in less than an hour. 500 alien warships destroyed without a single human loss. Silence returned to the void, broken only by the crackle of dying signals. The humans moved through the wreckage, collecting data, leaving no survivors. The commander looked upon the ruins, his face unreadable, and spoke softly. "Let them see this. Let them know Earth's children have returned, back in the alien." Council, the news arrived like a storm. Entire fleets gone, no survivors, no explanation. Only whispers of black ships moving faster than light itself. The chamber filled with fear. Some leaders demanded surrender. Others called for total war. One shouted, "We must hide, we must seal our borders." But the oldest among them shook his head. "You cannot hide from ghosts on alien worlds across the galaxy." Fear spread, markets emptied, civilians whispered in terror. Soldiers prepared for wars. They knew they could not win. Children asked their parents about the humans, and were told old stories of a race that never gave up, that fought until their last breath, and now had returned from exile stronger than ever. Meanwhile, deep within the human flagship, the crew gathered around a projection of Earth once more. The dead planet spun, slowly grey. Lifeless, broken, one officer whispered softly to the commander, "Why return to this place? It is nothing but ash." The commander's eyes never left the image. His voice, low, but filled with fire, because it was our home, because they thought they could erase us, because they believed the fire would end us. But they were wrong. We are the fire, and we will burn them. The humans knew the galaxy was watching. They wanted they wanted the coalition to remember the war of old, the pain of fighting humans, They wanted the enemy to understand that this was only the beginning. At the edges of the galaxy, more alien fleets prepared, but hesitation weakened them already. Whispers of defeat spread before a shot was fired. Colonies questioned their leaders. Soldiers questioned their orders. The shadow of humanity was enough to fracture unity. And still, the signal pulsed through the stars. Earth, 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 steady, unstoppable. Every alien who heard it felt the same chill down their spine. A reminder that the dead world was not forgotten. A reminder that humans were not gone. In the quiet of deep space, the commander stood alone in his chamber. He looked out at the stars, his reflection dark against the void. He remembered the stories told by his ancestors, stories passed down in exile, stories of fire, rain, and death. When Earth was destroyed, he carried those memories like scars. He spoke to himself, but his voice carried, "To every soul aboard, we are not here for survival, we are here for justice, and every star will remember our name." The fleet moved on, silent hunters in the night, ready for the next strike, and in every alien world fear grew stronger. The humans were no longer myths. They were here and they were unstoppable. The alien prisoner trembled as he was dragged into the human command chamber. His scales cracked and his many eyes wide with terror. He had been captured after the destruction of the 500 warships, one of the only survivors. He expected death, but instead he was brought before the human commander. The room was silent, dark, the air heavy with power. The commander stood tall in black armor, his face calm, his eyes burning with cold. "Fire!" He looked down at the alien as if measuring the weight of his life. The prisoner whispered in a broken voice, "You should not exist. You were supposed to be gone, erased. No one survives 30,000 years in the void." The commander leaned close, his voice low, sharp like steel. "We waited, we built, we remembered, and now we have returned." The alien shook his head, struggling to understand. No race survives exile. No race grows stronger in the darkness. The commander's expression did not change. "You do not know humans. We are not like others. We are not meant to bend or vanish. When the fire comes, we become the fire." The prisoner collapsed in silence, knowing his words meant nothing. Humans were real, and they were here. Far across the fleet, stories were told, whispered in corridors by human soldiers, young and old. The exile was their legend, their truth long ago. When Earth was burned and the skies fell, survivors had gathered in secret vessels, hidden away by desperate scientists. The alien coalition had believed all were gone, but small groups slipped through cracks in the chaos, carrying the seed of humanity across the stars. They fled beyond maps, past the known worlds, through the void where no alien dared to go. They entered the edges of black holes, their ships reinforced with strange metal pulled from ancient stars. They learned to harvest energy from collapsing suns. They created new machines, living machines that repaired themselves and learned with them. Generation after generation was born in exile, children raised not under a blue sky but under steel domes, surrounded by fire and endless night. Yet their hearts carried Earth with them. In the exile, humans changed. Their bodies became stronger, their minds sharper. They forged weapons from the bones of dead stars, fleets of silent ships that could appear and vanish like ghosts, but more than their machines. It was their will that grew. Their memory of Earth burned into their blood. Every child was told the same story. We are from a world of oceans and forests. Our home was destroyed, but we endure, we wait. We will return. Back in the command chamber, the human officers gathered to hear the words of their leader. He spoke not as a man, but as the voice of 1,000 generations. We did not survive only to hide. We did not build in silence, only to live in shadows. We are here because of them, because they believed they could erase us, and because they believed the ashes of Earth would bury us. He raised his hand, a hologram. Of Earth appeared spinning grey and broken. Our world may be gone, but we are not, and we will carve our justice into the stars. The officers answered in one voice. For Earth their cry echoed through the chamber like thunder. On alien worlds panic deepened. Entire colonies prepared for evacuation. Their leaders argued, but fear grew stronger than reason. One alien elder whispered to his people, "You do not know them like I do. I fought them long ago. Humans never stop when they fall. They rise when they are broken, they return. And when they return, they bring fire. Rumors spread faster than truth. Fleets vanishing without trace. Black ships swallowing light survivors. Speaking of human eyes glowing in the dark, entire systems began to question their loyalty to the coalition. Some considered surrender before the war even began. The alien prisoner was placed in a cold cell aboard the human flagship. He sat in silence until a human soldier entered, bringing him water. The alien looked at the soldier and spoke. "Why do you fight now after so long? Why not forget what was lost?" The soldier stared at him, his voice steady. "Because we cannot forget, because our home calls to us even in death, because no child of Earth will ever forgive." The alien shivered, realizing what he had seen was not rage, but something far worse. Purpose. In the deepest chamber of the flagship was the archive. A vast living memory carried across 30,000 years, machines built to record every detail of Earth before its fall. Oceans, mountains, forests, cities, laughter and war. Everything was preserved here in crystal and light. Every human child saw the archive from the day they could walk. They learned what Earth was and why they fought. The commander often stood in the archive alone. He would watch the rivers flow across green valleys. He would hear the sound of rain striking rooftops. He would see the face of the planet that no longer existed. Sometimes he closed his eyes, imagining what it would be like to feel grass beneath his feet, to breathe the air of home. But then he would remember the fire that had taken it all, and his resolve hardened. Outside the chamber, human engineers worked tirelessly, their ships alive with movement, new weapons tested, energy pulled from collapsed stars, war machines growing stronger with every passing day. Humanity was not only back, they were prepared for war. The alien coalition struggled to unite, but cracks widened their fleets, afraid, their people restless, their leaders desperate. Yet behind all their fear was one truth. Humanity had returned, and they would not stop. On the edge of the fleet, a young human pilot looked out at the stars. She had been born in exile, raised in a ship, never knowing a planet. But she carried in her heart the stories of Earth. She whispered to herself, "We will see it again one day. Not as ash, not as ruin, but as something new." The commander's voice came across the fleet, strong, steady. "The galaxy believes we are shadows, ghosts, myths. They will soon learn we are more than that. We are the children of Earth, and we are unbroken." In the alien council chamber, news of the destroyed fleet spread chaos. Some leaders demanded surrender, others demanded war, but in every voice there was fear. The humans were not just back, they were evolved, stronger, faster, sharper than any remembered. One counselor spoke, his voice trembling. "They have become something else, not the humans we knew, not the humans we destroyed. They are exiled, evolved, unbroken." And in the silence after his words, every leader knew he was right. In the cold void between stars, the human fleet prepared for its next move, weapons, charged engines ready. The commander stood on the bridge, his eyes locked on the endless dark. He whispered, for Earth and for the ashes they left behind. The war was only beginning. The void between stars was silent. The wreckage of the alien fleet drifted, cold and broken, twisted metal glowing faintly as fires died out. Human ships glided past without sound, black shadows moving like predators through dark water. No survivors, no signals, only silence. It was the kind of silence that carried fear across the galaxy. In the alien council chamber, chaos spread. 500 warships gone in less than an hour. The greatest fleet of the Outer Rim destroyed without warning, without even a chance to strike back. The councillors shouted over one another, their many voices sharp with panic. Some demanded more fleets to be built, others screamed for peace treaties. But the truth was clear: no number of ships would matter against this enemy. The oldest of them all spoke with a heavy voice, his eyes dull with memory. I was there when Earth burned. I saw humans fight to their last breath. We crushed their cities. We tore apart their fleets. And still, they came at us again and again. Now they return stronger than ever. You cannot reason with them, and you cannot outrun them. They will not stop. Even as the council argued, a new fleet was dispatched, this one larger than before. 1,000 ships gathered at the edge of coalition space, bristling with weapons, their engines burning bright. They moved in formation like a wall of fire, their commanders filled with pride and desperation. Messages spread across their ranks. The humans are mortal. They bleed. They can be broken. But the humans were already watching, hidden in the shadows far. Beyond the reach of alien scanners, the human commander stood on the bridge of the flagship, his face unreadable, his officers silent, waiting for his word. Reports came in from across the fleet. Enemy fleet detected 1,000 strong approaching. Sector 12, the commander nodded, his voice calm. Prepare the strike. The humans did not rush. They waited, letting the alien fleet grow confident, letting them believe they were in control. The alien commanders boasted on open channels, calling humans nothing but vermin, promising to end them forever. Their laughter carried across the stars, but beneath their voices there was fear. When the moment came, it began without warning. The stars around the alien fleet dimmed one by one, shadows sliding into place. Massive human ships emerging from the dark, as if the void itself had given them shape. The aliens scrambled, their weapons locked on, but their targets moved too fast. Two silent beams of compressed gravity cut through the first line of ships, folding them into themselves, leaving nothing but silence. Before the aliens could react, more shadows moved, slicing their formations apart. The aliens fired back their weapons, lit up the darkness with blinding energy beams, but every shot missed human. Ships vanished before impact, their engines invisible, their armor bending light itself. Panic spread across the alien fleet. Voices filled the comms channel, screaming orders, begging for help, reporting entire squadrons gone in seconds. On the bridge of the alien flagship, the admiral's hands shook as he shouted, "Aim at the void. Shoot at the shadows," but his crew was already breaking their screens, filled with black shapes surrounding them, their weapons useless, their defenses collapsing. Humans struck like ghosts. They moved inside the fleet, tearing ships apart with weapons no alien had ever seen. Gravity lances crushed entire vessels into fragments. Pulse waves silenced communications, leaving ships blind and alone. Fighter squadrons darted between warships, carving engines and weapon systems before vanishing again. It was not a battle. It was an execution. The alien admiral watched in horror as his fleet burned, his voice weak. This is not war, this is slaughter on the human flagship. The commander gave only one order: no survivors. His officers carried it out without hesitation, their voices steady, their movements precise, every strike planned, every death recorded. The aliens who once mocked Earth were given no mercy. In less than 2 hours, the battle was finished. 1,000 alien ships gone, only wreckage drifting in the void. Human ships moved calmly through the remains, gathering data, searching for survivors, only to silence them one by one. The commander watched from the bridge, his face still calm, his eyes locked on the destruction. His words were cold. Let them remember this, let them fear our silence more than their own screams. Back in the alien council chamber, the news arrived like a storm. First disbelief, then terror. 1,000 ships destroyed without a trace. The councillors fell into chaos. Some collapsed in despair. Others shouted to abandon entire star systems and retreat. But there was no safe place to run. The humans were everywhere, their shadows. Slipping through defenses unseen, unstoppable. Across the galaxy, civilians whispered in fear. Merchants abandoned trade routes. Soldiers refused orders. Colonies closed their gates and prayed. Entire empires trembled without a single human word being spoken. Humanity had not demanded anything. They had not given warning. They had only returned and struck with fire. Inside the archive aboard the human flagship, the memories of Earth glowed softly. Rivers, forests, oceans, green valleys and blue skies. Children of exile gathered there when not at war. They looked at what they had lost. They listened to recordings of laughter, wind, rain. They remembered why they fought. One young soldier stood before the archive, whispering to himself, "We will bring justice. We will make them remember." The commander too stood there alone after the battle. He placed his hand on the glowing image of Earth, his voice quiet but sharp. "They thought the ashes would bury us instead. The ashes became our fire." He turned away and returned to the bridge, the next target already waiting. In alien strongholds across the stars, fear grew. Leaders locked themselves inside fortified palaces. Fleets refused to move. Whispers of surrender filled the air. But no surrender could be offered, no peace could be made. Humanity had returned not to negotiate, but to destroy. Stories spread of their weapons of ships that could vanish into shadow of fleets, that could crush armies in silence. Survivors told tales of human eyes cold and unblinking, of voices that spoke only one word. Earth children grew up whispering it in fear. Adults whispered it in despair. Entire civilizations trembled at the thought that one day the shadows would come for them too, on the edge of human space. The fleet gathered stronger than ever, their black ships glowing faintly with power drawn from collapsed stars. The commander spoke to his people across every ship, his voice deep, steady, unbroken. The galaxy believed we were gone. The galaxy believed it was safe. It believed Earth was ash and forgotten. But now we rise from the dark, we rise from the fire. We will take what was denied, we will strike until no enemy remains. His people answered in one voice. For Earth their cry thundered across the void, carried not by sound, but by unshakable will. The war of vengeance was only beginning, and every star would soon burn with the memory of humanity's return. A single human warship drifted into alien space, its hull black, its shape sharp against the light of distant stars. It carried no weapons, raised no threats, no fleet at its side, only silence. The aliens who saw it at first believed it a broken ship, a survivor of battle. Yet when they scanned it, they found it intact, alive, its systems pulsing with hidden power. The ship stopped in the middle of an alien trade route. Thousands of ships watched it from a distance, afraid to come closer. Then, without warning, the human vessel opened its side and projected an image into space. It was not a threat, not a weapon, but a vision, a hologram stretching across the stars, so massive that entire colonies could see it clearly. It was Earth. Not the Earth of ash and ruin, but Earth as it once was. Oceans blue and endless forests stretching green. Across the surface, mountains crowned with snow cities, glowing with light voices of laughter, birds in flight rain, falling on rooftops. The aliens who looked upon it froze, their hearts shaken. They had never seen such beauty. They had never seen what they had destroyed. The image carried across systems, every screen, every scanner forced to watch Earth alive once more. A voice spoke through the projection, not loud, not cruel, but steady. "This was our home. You burned it, you erased it. But we remember, and now you will. Remember too, on alien worlds, people trembled. Their leaders shouted to shut the signal down, but no system could block it. The memory of Earth was everywhere, a galaxy forced to look at what had been lost. In the alien council chamber, the projection appeared above them, covering the dome. The leaders stared in silence, their many eyes reflecting oceans, skies, cities. The oldest among them whispered in a broken voice, "It is more beautiful than I remember." His words were soft but heavy with regret. Others shouted, "Lies! This is manipulation tricks," but their voices were hollow. They could see the truth with their own eyes. The humans had not come only with weapons, they had come with memory, with proof the destruction of Earth had not been an accident. Not a tragedy, but an act of deliberate war long ago. The coalition had feared humanity's rise. They had feared Earth's strength. They had united and struck together, burning the planet to ash, hoping to erase humans forever. But now the truth was revealed in the archive. Humans carried every record, every betrayal, every secret document, every confession. The galaxy now saw what the coalition had done. The voice of the human commander carried through the projection, steady, clear. The galaxy must know the truth. Earth was destroyed, not by fate, not by chance, but by fear. Your leaders feared us. They united against us. They ended our world. They believed we would never rise again. But we did. We rose from the ashes, and now we return across the galaxy. Outrage spread. Alien citizens screamed at their leaders, demanding answers. Entire worlds rose in protest. Some races refused to fight humanity any longer. They saw in humans not only vengeance, but justice. They saw the cruelty of their own rulers who had hidden the truth for 30,000 years. The coalition fractured cracks spreading faster than they could repair. Soldiers questioned their orders, refusing to die for leaders who had lied to them. Colonies demanded freedom, demanding in peace with the humans. Trade routes collapsed, communication networks filled with chaos. The galaxy was unraveling. Meanwhile, aboard the human flagship, the crew gathered around the archive, the massive chamber glowing with images of Earth. Every officer, every soldier stood in silence as the commander entered. His face calm but burning with purpose. He spoke slowly. "Our enemies thought to bury us in silence, but silence became our weapon. They thought to erase our memory, but our memory became our fire. They thought Earth was forgotten, but Earth lives here." He struck his hand against his chest, and every soldier did the same. "Earth lives in us." The projection continued across the galaxy, stories of human suffering told by survivors, records of burning skies, voices of children crying as their world died. No one could look away, no one could deny it anymore. Humanity had been wronged. Humanity had been betrayed. The alien council tried to answer their voices, desperate. They called the images lies. They accused the humans of forging false history, but their own archives proved otherwise. Old files, hidden for millennia, resurfaced, revealing the truth. One by one, the council members fell into silence, their lies shattered in the void. Human fleets moved steadily, striking where they pleased, destroying coalition outposts, burning fleets in silence, leaving behind not only wreckage but the vision of Earth. Every battlefield, every colony, every city saw the same projection: green oceans, blue skies, a reminder of what had been stolen. Alien civilians began to whisper new words, words that spread like fire across markets, across homes, across armies. Children repeated them in fear. Adults repeated them in despair. Earth, Earth, Earth. The commander knew fear was their strongest weapon, more powerful than fleets or guns. The galaxy already bent before them, not because of destruction, but because of memory. The proof of Earth's death and humanity's survival was enough to break empires. Still, the humans did not forget their true purpose. They would not stop at fear. They would not stop at truth. They wanted vengeance, justice for 30,000 years of exile and ash. The commander ordered the next phase: prepare the fleets, target their strongholds, show them what it means to face the children of Earth. But in the council chamber, a voice rose against the others, an alien unlike the rest. Calm, steady, it spoke. "We cannot fight them anymore. We cannot lie anymore. If we resist, we die. If We surrender, perhaps we live, perhaps they will let us live. The council roared in anger, but many listened, many knew the war was already lost. The humans had done what no weapon could. They had turned the galaxy against itself. They had torn open wounds that never healed. They had shown truth that could not be denied. Now every star trembled, every empire cracked. In the darkness of space, the commander stood alone, looking out at the stars. He spoke quietly, but his voice carried across the bridge. They thought we were gone, they thought we were ash, but now the galaxy knows the truth. They will remember Earth, they will remember humanity, and they will remember the fire that comes from the ashes. His officers answered in one voice for Earth. Their cry rolled like thunder through the ship and into the endless void. Humanity had struck not only with weapons, but with memory, and the galaxy itself trembled at the power of the forgotten world, brought back to life. Across the galaxy, the whispers of Earth grew louder. Entire worlds trembled with the vision of oceans and forests that had been burned away 30,000 years ago. Some alien children cried when they saw it. Some adults hid their faces in shame, and others shouted in anger. Against their own leaders, the lie that humanity had been destroyed by accident was broken, and truth spread faster than light. The alien coalition fractured day by day. Fleets refused to move. Soldiers deserted. Whole colonies locked their gates. No one trusted the council anymore. No one believed their orders. Some empires tried to hold control, but even their strongest leaders could not stop the growing fear. The galaxy was no longer united. It was shaking apart. On one alien world, a soldier sat alone in his quarters, staring at the projection of Earth. It had appeared without warning. Filling the skies above his city, he saw rivers, green valleys, blue oceans. He whispered to himself, "How could we have burned such a world? How could they have survived?" And his heart filled with dread. He had been trained since birth to hate humans, but now all he felt was guilt and fear. In the Grand Council chamber, the leaders shouted again, their voices sharp, filled with desperation. Some called for surrender, others demanded more war, but their fleets were failing, their armies broken. One counselor screamed, "They are only one race, they cannot rule the galaxy." But even he knew his words were lies. Humanity had grown in exile. Humanity had become something else. Meanwhile, in the void, the human fleet moved like shadows, their ships gliding through star systems faster than any alien could track. They struck at supply lines, at communication hubs, at shipyards. Each attack, precise, cold, without mercy. They never spoke, they never demanded terms, they only left behind silence, and the vision of Earth glowing like a wound in the minds of all who saw it. The commander of the humans stood on the bridge, watching stars pass. His officers reported victories one after another, entire fleets destroyed, worlds surrendered without resistance, colonies begging for protection from their own coalition leaders. The commander's face remained calm, his eyes hard with fire. He spoke slowly. "They are not fighting us. They are fighting their own fear." On alien streets, statues of old rulers were torn down. Civilians chanted for peace. Some even raised the image of Earth in defiance against their leaders. Alien children played with makeshift flags painted blue and green. The colors of the lost world stories spread quickly. That humanity was not here to conquer, but to punish, to remind the galaxy of justice. Still, there were races who resisted, stubborn, proud, unwilling to bow. They gathered fleets and swore to destroy the humans, but whispers of failure already haunted them. One alien admiral told his officers, "Even if we gather 10,000 ships, even if we burn the stars themselves, they will still come. They will still rise because they are not like us." Inside the human flagship, the archive pulsed with light, showing images of Earth to the soldiers before battle. They stood in silence as forests flowed across rivers and cities glowed with life. The commander entered, placing his hand on the image, his voice strong. "This is why we fight, not for conquest, not for glory, but for Earth, for the home that was taken from us." 30,000 years ago. The soldiers answered in one voice for Earth. The humans knew the galaxy was trembling. They knew fear alone could break empires, but they also knew the war was not yet finished. The commander ordered the fleet to spread wider, to strike deeper into coalition space. No fortress would be safe, no fleet untouchable. His officers obeyed. With steady calm, their eyes filled with purpose. Back in the council chamber, the leaders were desperate messages from across their empire, spoke of rebellions of soldiers refusing orders of citizens demanding surrender. The galaxy was falling apart. One counselor whispered, "The war is already lost. The humans have not only broken our fleets, they have broken our people." But another shouted, "No, we must build a weapon, something greater than their shadows, something that can burn them out of existence." Rumors spread of secret projects, hidden weapons, ancient machines buried in forgotten worlds, weapons that could rival even the humans. Some counselors clung to this hope, desperate not to admit defeat, but deep inside they knew no weapon could stop. The fire of Earth on alien streets, the phrase spread like a storm. Fear the children of Earth, fear the shadows, fear the fire. The galaxy trembled, entire systems collapsed without a single human ship appearing. Some worlds surrendered to shadows that never came simply out of fear of what might come. In the darkness of the flagship, the commander stood alone, looking at the stars, his reflection hard in the glass, his voice quiet but filled with steel. They thought us extinct, they thought us erased. But now they see us, they hear us, they remember us, and the galaxy itself shakes at the sound of our name. Humanity reports came in from scouts, colonies joining them willingly, races offering alliances not out of love, but out of terror, entire fleets. Abandoning the coalition to survive the humans, accepted some, rejected others, their strategy precise. Not every ally was wanted, not every surrender accepted. They chose carefully, building power with purpose. The war was no longer just ships and weapons. It was memory and fear. It was whispers and truth. The humans had become more than soldiers. They had become a force of history itself. On one alien world, a child looked up at the stars and asked her father, "Will the humans come here?" The father could not answer. He only looked at the sky, his heart heavy with fear. Across the galaxy, leaders begged for unity, begged for strength, but none came. Their people no longer trusted them, their armies no longer obeyed, and above it all, the vision of Earth continued to shine. Oceans, skies, forests, a memory that would never fade. The commander knew the time was coming for the final phase. Soon they would strike at the heart of the coalition. Soon they would burn the center of power that had once burned. Earth, he stood tall before his officers, his voice sharp. "The galaxy trembles, but it is not enough. We must end this. We must make them remember forever." His people answered with thunder for Earth, and the fleet turned toward the heart of the enemy. Their shadows stretching across the stars, their silence heavy, their purpose unbroken. The galaxy trembled because the children of Earth were not only back, they were unstoppable. The human fleet cut through the void like knives of silence. Stars flared in the distance, but their light seemed small compared to the darkness moving across the galaxy. The coalition was breaking piece by piece. Worlds surrendered without a shot. Fleets scattered before battle even began. It was no longer a war of weapons. It was a war of fear and memory. The vision of Earth still appeared across alien skies without warning. It showed rivers and forests, skies filled with birds, cities glowing with life. Many who saw it fell to their knees. Some prayed, some wept, and some screamed that the ghosts of Earth had returned and would not rest until justice was done. The commander stood on the bridge of the flagship, his eyes fixed on a star chart before him. The council world, the very heart of the coalition, pulsed red on. The map, he spoke in a calm, low voice. "We have cut their supply lines, broken their fleet, shattered their trust. Now we strike the heart." His officers stood silent, waiting. The commander continued, "The galaxy must remember this moment, not just as vengeance, But as justice, they will know that Earth was never erased. They will know that humanity never bowed. In the council chamber, panic ruled. The leaders shouted across the room, blaming each other, accusing spies, demanding armies that no longer existed. Some called for surrender, others called for a final strike. One elder stood tall, his voice shaking. The humans are not just soldiers, they are memory itself. We cannot kill memory, but still the desperate refused to listen. They ordered weapons prepared. They ordered fleets that no longer obeyed on alien streets. Crowds gathered, some demanded peace, waving crude banners of Earth drawn by children. Others shouted for war, fear twisting their voices. Chaos grew, cities shook, not from bombs, but from the weight of dread itself. As the human fleet advanced, whispers spread of a weapon buried deep, a weapon the coalition had hidden, even from its own people, a machine that could shatter entire stars. Some leaders prayed it would be enough to stop the humans, but fear poisoned their hope for every secret they built. Humanity had already learned to endure. Inside the flagship, the archive glowed again, showing Earth's beauty. Soldiers gathered in silence, their faces hard, their eyes wet. The commander placed his hand against the light, his voice steady. This is our truth, this is our weapon. No machine, no empire, no lie is stronger than this. The fleet moved closer, entering the final systems before the Council world resistance came, but it was weak. Scattered desperate ambushes that ended quickly, alien ships fled rather than fight their commanders, abandoning them. Entire fleets surrendered in silence, begging only to live. One alien admiral refused. He gathered his ships, forming a wall in the void. His voice echoed across channels. Humanity, you cannot take the heart. You will fall here. The humans answered with silence. Then their shadows moved faster than thought. Beams of light tore through the alien line. Ships broke apart one by one. The admiral's final words lost in fire. The coalition world saw it all, their skies lit with the burning remains of their defenders, and panic spread across every city. Every street alarms screamed, leaders demanded defenses raised, but many soldiers dropped their weapons. Some even opened the gates. From orbit, the human fleet prepared the final strike. The commander's voice, calm, steady. This is not conquest, this is remembrance. They burned our home, now we burn their lies. On the surface, the leaders gathered in fear, the great chamber shaking as the human fleet filled their sky. Some shouted for battle, some shouted for surrender. But the people no longer listened. The people watched, the heavens filled with human shadows, and knew the age of the coalition was ending. The commander gave the order, his voice sharp for Earth, and the fleet descended, silence heavier than any sound, their weapons ready, their purpose unbroken. The galaxy itself held its breath as the children of Earth reached the heart of those who had destroyed them 30,000 years ago. The final reckoning had come. The sky above the Council world turned black as the human fleet eclipsed its sun. Their ships hung in silence, vast shapes blotting out the stars. The people below filled the streets, their eyes wide with terror and awe. Some dropped to their knees, others clutched their children tighter. No words were spoken. The vision of Earth spread again across the heavens, oceans, forests, mountains glowing like a wound of memory. The world stopped to stare. In the great chamber, the coalition leaders stood together for the last time, their voices hoarse with fear. Some demanded weapons fired, others demanded surrender, but even as they argued, they knew the truth. Their empire was gone. Their fleets shattered, their people no longer loyal. The humans had broken them, not just with war, but with truth. On the bridge of the flagship, the commander stood tall, his eyes hard, his voice steady. They burned our home. They erased our world, and for 30,000 years, they believed we were nothing but dust. Today we end that lie. His officers bowed their heads, their voices united for Earth. The first strike came without sound. Beams of light fell upon the enemy's strongholds, tearing apart defense towers and war factories. Explosions shook the land, but the humans did not target civilians. They cut only the weapons, the seats of power, the engines of tyranny. Alien soldiers dropped their arms as their fortresses crumbled. Leaders screamed for order, but none came. In the streets, the people watched with wide eyes, seeing the coalition burn before them. They had lived their whole lives under fear and lies. Now they saw the truth with every blast, with every shadow of a human ship. They knew the age of their rulers was over. Some cheered, others wept. Many simply bowed their heads in silence. The council chamber shook as walls cracked. The leaders clung to their seats, voices breaking. One whispered the age of the coalition is finished. Another shouted, no, we can still fight. But even he trembled when the chamber doors burst open. Human soldiers stepped inside, their armor black, their eyes cold. They moved with calm precision, weapons lowered but unstoppable. One human officer spoke, his voice deep, steady. Your reign is over, your lies are finished. The leaders fell silent, their words dead on their tongues, fear heavy in their throats. They saw in the humans not just soldiers, but judgment. The commander himself entered the chamber, his steps echoing. Every leader flinched under his gaze. He looked at them with eyes of fire, his voice sharp. 30,000 years ago, you burned Earth, you erased our home and thought us gone. Today, humanity returns, and we do not ask for mercy. The leaders begged, some cried, some cursed, but the commander did not falter. He raised his hand, and his soldiers placed before them the glowing image of Earth, rivers, mountains, cities, oceans. The leaders stared in silence, ashamed, unable to look away. The commander spoke again. This is what you destroyed. This is what you thought forgotten. But Earth lives in us, and now it will live in the memory of every star. The chamber fell quiet. None dared to speak. The humans had no need to kill them. Their empire was already dead. The people outside had already abandoned them. The galaxy itself had already turned. The commander turned away, his voice calm to his officers. End their rule, dismantle their fleets, tear down their symbols, but leave their people free. Let them see the stars without chains for the first time. His soldiers bowed, and the order spread. The coalition crumbled, city by city, fortress by fortress. The empire of lies erased in silence. Across the galaxy, worlds cheered when they heard the news. Others wept in relief. Statues of tyrants fell. Banners of Earth painted in blue and green rose in their place. The children of Earth had not returned as conquerors, but as justice itself. On the flagship, the commander stood before the archive, the image of Earth glowing brighter than ever. He placed his hand against it, his voice quiet but filled with steel. Earth, we have avenged you. Your ashes are no longer forgotten. Your fire lives in us forever. The soldiers around him answered with thunder for Earth, their voices shaking the stars, and so the galaxy changed forever. The coalition was gone, humanity no longer a ghost, but a force. The memory of Earth burned into every world, every heart, every mind. 30,000 years of silence ended in a single truth. Humanity had returned, and the stars would never forget it.